All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Driver of the number 4 Sunny D Ford Mustang Dark Horse for Stewart-Haas Racing and Overstock Ford Mustang for Stewart-Haas Racing. Josh Berry joining us here today, heading into Dover, where he's had pretty good luck there. You've driven for quite a few different teams in a short amount of time, but whether it's Cup or Xfinity, you've had pretty good results with a win and 2 runner-ups there in the Xfinity series. So off to Dover Motor Speedway this weekend. Just how do you feel as far as heading back there this weekend?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to get to Dover. Obviously, it's been a really good track for us on the Xfinity side of things the last couple years. Obviously with Junior Motorsports, and they have really strong cars there too, for sure. So that's definitely helped. And yeah, some great results there on the Xfinity side. A win in 22. Had a really solid race there last year in the 48. Finishing 10th. So I think that should be it's a little bit more of a confidence boost for us going there. I felt like that was a good race for me and that opportunity. I really kind of started to feel more comfortable throughout that opportunity with the 48 and just getting more adjusted to the car. So I think that we feel good about where we're at. We feel like we've been running better than we finished. We've been running better than we've been finishing. The data showed that for us, so we just have to keep plugging along, and the results will come.
All right, very good, Josh. We got a good group here on the call. We'll kick it off here with Greg Engel. If you've got a question for Josh, raise your hand and we'll just take them as we get them. All right, go ahead, Greg, kick us off.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Josh, for joining us today. I got a question. I mean, it's no secret, and Dan, before you get mad at me, I'm a Mustang fan, but there's no secret. The Ford, the dark horse, hasn't actually won a race this year. We've gone through 10 races, but if you look at that, it's not. It may. I don't think it's the design because you guys have had speed. Joey's had poles. Michael McDowell's had poles. You've run well. Do you think it's a product of the of where they're just playing catch up with the design? I mean, from your seat, or do you think it's something where there's kind of this racing luck involved, where you're bad pit stops, or you get caught up in somebody else's mess? Do you think that's maybe the reason that's kept a Mustang from victory lane this year?
Um, Man, it's hard to say. I don't really necessarily want to blame luck. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times on this stuff, you make your own luck, right? I think there's things that, for at least for me on the four team side of things, I can't speak for those other guys. I feel like that when we've had our car driving like we want, we've had speed. We saw that at the short tracks. Even, Texas, we had an accident, but we were knocking on the door of getting up into the top 10. So for us, it's just a combination of everything, I think, really. We've had some races where we didn't run quite like we wanted, and we've had several races where we've been really fast, and we've had, a miserable day on pit road. So it's a combination of everything. I mean, the reality of it is it's just hard to win at this level. I don't think, for me, I'm not necessarily panicked. I think that we're going to continue to get better on the four team. I'm going to continue to get more comfortable with Rodney and this group. And I feel like if we keep doing the right things, we'll keep running better. It's just and everyone at Ford's working really hard too, right? I mean, on the aero side of things, on the engine side of things, there's lots of things that go into it. That we know that where areas that we can improve on, and you keep doing that. Ultimately they just won the championship last year in all three divisions, right? And everybody's waving the white flag and panicking, right? So I think we'll be fine. It's just going to take a little time.
Thanks, pal. I appreciate it. Have fun in Dover this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Greg. Let's go to Stuart Weber. Hey, Stuart.
Hey guys, Josh, as mentioned, three different attempts in the Cup Series at Dover, three different teams. And from my perspective, it's kind of been three very different situations going into it, from the first ever Cup start to being the relief driver over at Hendrick to now being a full-time guy with the team. Can you kind of describe the different mindsets for you going into your races at Dover as you head into it here this week?
Yeah, each one was, each one's different, right? I think, obviously my first Cup start there being with Spire, they were pretty much like, don't wreck the car. We're not really here to race. We're just gonna ride around and do the best we can. But it was still fun to get to run a Cup Series race. I was part-time in the Xfinity Series like that, and it was a great experience for me to come get to do. And last year in the 48, that was, it was a lot of fun, right? I think we had come off really strong. We run second in the Xfinity race the day before, so to get a top 10 in the Cup race was a lot of fun. I think it was a great opportunity for me to work with those guys and learn and run a race and be competitive and get a solid finish. So yeah, I think with all that now I feel more excited to go back and work with Rodney and these guys. I think that they've had some strong cars. They've had good cars at Dover, even in the next gen era, right? I think sometimes we forget, that we're in a totally different car than what a lot of, those guys have had over the years. And they had good cars there last year, had a issue with a tire that put them behind. So I think we've seen that these tracks that we can kind of, at least for it seems like so far, we've been able to see that these tracks that we kind of have circled that we know that I'm a little more comfortable at and they have good cars at. We've been able to circle those and we've had strong runs at nearly every one of them. So hopefully that we can do the same thing this weekend.
You kind of mentioned it before. Those last two times you went to Dover, you would race the Xfinity Series the day before. This time you're not. This year you've been all Cup Series, and we kind of talked about it before the season started, just how you're going to be able to focus on Cup. How much have you noticed that through these first couple months of the season, your ability to focus just on the one series?
Yeah, no, I think I think it's helped with the Cup car for sure. I felt like last year that even though usually there was several races that we had good results, there was still adaptation from the Xfinity car to the next gen car and how it drove differently and how it felt, and just especially coming off of a race like that. Where the Xfinity race where you're running, 200 laps in a car that's much different. I think just being able to focus on the Cup car has been a little bit of a weight off my shoulders, and just understanding how, making sure that I understand how to continue to evolve and learn how to adapt to that. So, I don't know if the results will be any different, but I think it's a little bit easier from bouncing back and forth between the cars. Just the cars, I mean, you just visually look at them; they're just so incredibly different that it's just making it continually hard to jump back and forth like that, especially when you're trying to learn on the fly.
Thanks, Josh.
And that's a long way from the Xfinity garage all the way to the other end of the Cup
A lot of
garage.
walking, a lot of walking there for sure.
Exactly. All right, let's go over to Trey Downey. Hey, Trey, welcome to the call. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dan. Hey, Josh. Want to look ahead to the next couple of weeks. Next week we go to Kansas for the first time this season. Over the past couple of years, I feel like Kansas has kind of become one of the more favorite spots for drivers and fans. From a driver's perspective, what makes Kansas so fun to drive?
Well, I think the biggest thing I think from my side of things, especially, that was another race that I had experienced last year in the 48. And I think Kansas just races really well with the next gen. I think just having the different lane options, top, middle, bottom, against the fence, all those, the restarts are crazy. I think it just puts on a really good race there. And Kansas is unique, it's kind of at this point where it's starting to age and wear the tires a little bit. So that there's that side of things, right? Like you kind of got to, you got to be conscious of how you're pushing the tires and sliding the tires, which is more fun as a driver, just to know that you kind of have to pay a little bit more attention to that. So all those things together, I think it just puts on a good track as a mile and a half. And it's one that I've been looking forward to going back to. Like I said, kind of before, I think it's a race that I ran much better than I finished last year. So I'm excited to go back and experience that again with my new team and build off of our intermediates earlier this year.
And then the next week at Darlington, it was announced that you're going to be thrown back to one of Rodney's cars. Just whose idea was that to throw back to one of Rodney's cars, and what's it going to mean to you to be carrying one of his schemes at Darlington?
Yeah, honestly, it was a culmination of a lot of people at Stewart-Haas Racing, and also our partner Harrison's that kind of jumped on board and helped make all that happen. when being grassroots is the theme this week, right? Like I think, that created some opportunity for us to maybe feel a little bit more at home with the whole throwback idea and what we do with those. I definitely was not interested in throwing back to myself. I definitely wanted to do somebody else. And just opened the opportunity with Rodney and Rodney's career racing late models, before becoming a crew chief, and then everybody buying into that. Harrison's buying into that, helping making the car, the branding, changing up their branding to adapt to that. It just made it all make sense, and it's a cool deal. So Rodney was really excited. We surprised him a couple weeks ago with the unveil that. He was super excited for that, and it's just a cool thing, right? It just gives us opportunity to give back just a little bit to a lot of the people that do a lot for us. And it's more than just throwing decals on a car to sell die casts or something like that. It's for us, it's this one really has a lot of meaning for especially for Rodney and him thinking back to his career and his growing up and learning racing. So it'll be fun. I know it'll be cool for him to have his family there, I'm sure, and watch the car go around the track.
And then you've kind of been one of the faces of grassroots racing over the past 5 to 10 years or so. I mean, just what do you, how important is it that they're doing that as the theme this year at Darlington and kind of putting grassroots racing like more on a pedestal that weekend?
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool. Like I said, more than anything, I hope as many people participate as they can. It's hard sometimes with that idea, right? We all have so many sponsors that are so incredibly important to our programs, right? And they're going to have to buy in and change up their branding and everything to make this all happen. So sometimes it's not as easy as it looks from the outside to make all this happen. But overall, it's always cool to me to see pay attention, people paying attention to that grassroots level. I mean, there's so many great tracks, around Darlington and the South Carolina area, North Carolina area that put on a lot of great racing. So any way we can do to shine a little light on that and help that side of things, I think is a plus in my eyes.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Trey. I don't see any hands up, but I'm just going to go to Bob and see if Bob, if you've got something there that you want to ask Josh.
Yeah, sorry. I got in here late, so if it was asked, that's fine. But I'm curious, like looking ahead to like All Star and other short tracks. Do you have any views on, what tires should be used, and what do you think could work there, tire wise?
Yeah, hopefully, man, I don't know. Hopefully they take a stab at it. Hopefully they swing for the fences a little bit. I think with the All-Star race, I think that would be a great opportunity to learn something. I've heard some rumors of flying around a little bit about trying some stuff with some different compounds. Yeah, I mean, I think those are all great ideas, right? I think they need to swing for it. They need to get on the other side of it, see if they can learn anything, see if it makes a difference or not. I think those are all, things that we need to do. I mean, we need to do it sooner rather than later too, right? I think they need to get aggressive with it. I think the All-Star race is going to be a good opportunity to do that. On the same thing, it's going to be tricky with it being a repave. I mean, even if I'm even go back to my years of short track racing, right? Like when they repaved a short track around here, it always took a while for it to run in, and there'd be multiple grooves, and we always struggled with tires blistering and things like that. So it's gonna be a challenge for sure. It's definitely gonna be a unique situation, but I think that it's something that they're gonna have to do to try to help the product for the race. And I think they have some ideas, and we've tried to give them more ideas, and we'll just have to see where they take it and what they come up with.
I take it you're good. You're muted, but I take it you're good, Bob. All right. Thank you. Let me check with Dustin. Dustin, are you good? Got anything for Josh?
Thanks. Hey, Josh, just to follow up on that is, as you say, to the repave and everything with Wilkesboro, even if there's a change, what do you hope to see, and really how does it carry over to some other track, or is it as much trying? I mean, I'm just curious how much you can learn out of a situation where it's a repave and throwing something, if it's something dramatic at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing I think the reality is that it's going to be single lane. No, I would really be surprised if we have more than one groove. And it seems like, and that's just because that's just the nature of a repave, right? The more you run on the asphalt, the better it gets. How it seems to widen out. It usually takes time with those to get run in. So, and it seems like the short tracks that are single lane is the biggest problem. So, I think that this is going to be a way to learn, because we pretty much know before we get there, there's not going to be 2 or 3 lanes at North Wilkesboro, right? It's going to be a short track. It's whatever the groove ends up being, whether it's right around the bottom, middle, whatever is kind of going to be the preferred groove. So I think that going there and knowing that, is going to, if we can make, whether it's, softening the tires or giving us multiple, different compounds or whatever that they decide to do to help make that look better, I think could give it's just going to be an opportunity to learn, right? I think that's, I fear that even if they go soft on the tires, that you're going to find more of an issue with heat versus wear. That's where it's going to be. That's where I think what you would be concerned about would be just like the tires blistering or something like that, not really wearing. But I don't know. Like I said, it can't. I mean, it has to be better than what we've had at Martinsville and some of those places where we really struggled with the passing. So I think they just got to get aggressive with it and see what happens. I feel like.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dustin. Deborah, go ahead. You get the last
Okay.
word with Josh.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I got here late. I'm out mowing my yard.
No, I knew it was you, Deb. I just see Deborah's iPhone. I knew it was you, Deb, but I like seeing Deborah. It's good.
Run that weed eater.
Yeah, and I had my alarm set, but when I get to the back of my property, it doesn't have cell service, so it didn't go off. I'm sorry. Josh, when you're talking about North Wilkesboro, and the new pavement, the repave and all, the fact that you've got the Cars Tour running there that week, will that possibly help the groove widen out faster once y'all get there?
Yeah, I think that'll definitely help. I think the more racing they have on it, the better, that'll be. The more the track will get run in, and hopefully get, take rubber and grip up a little bit. I think, the biggest thing we see a lot, even thinking back to the short track stuff, is just, when they repave these places, they're just slick. They're really slick. They're really slick outside the groove. The pavement's so grippy that, all the dust and dirt and everything just sticks to the asphalt almost in a way. So really it just makes it hard to get outside the groove, to lay down rubber, to clean the track up, to get it fast enough that we can race side by side. And, but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, the more cars that are out there running, I think the better it'll be, the more it can help. Hopefully we can get it going pretty good by the All-Star race itself. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if it takes a year or two for it really to come into its own.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Deb, thank you. Go back to cutting the grass. Appreciate you joining us. Josh, appreciate you too, hitting the concrete this weekend. So I guess we don't have to worry about some of those things you've just been talking about with Wilkesboro, but best of luck this weekend at Dover. We'll see you there.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
All right. Thanks everyone. Appreciate you joining the call. And for those of you traveling into Dover, travel safe. We'll see you there, and we'll be back again next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Dan.
Yes, sir.